Karen tried to steal my mailbox, then called police when I confronted her. I didn't know a mailbox could spark a war. Not a fight, not a misunderstanding. A full-on, clipboard-waving, cop-calling, public meltdown kind of war with screaming, lies, HOA cosplay, and one woman who thought she owned the entire cul-de-sac because she printed her own badges at Kinko's. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how it started. It wasn't politics. It wasn't race. It wasn't even noise. It was my damn mailbox. I'm Jordan Miles, 33, school counselor, and newly minted homeowner as of last summer. First-time buyer, quiet neighborhood, single-level house with a porch swing and a front yard the size of a postage stamp. Just the way I wanted it. I'd worked 10 years, saved every extra dollar, and finally got the keys in April. 2 months later, I upgraded my mailbox black powder-coated aluminum, bolted into a concrete base with a decorative eagle emblem and a small American flag magnet attached to the side. Nothing wild, no neon lights, no loud patterns, just solid, respectful, and, apparently, offensive. Because 3 days after I installed it, I got the first note, typed, folded neatly, left without postage inside the box itself. Your mailbox does not conform to neighborhood standards. Please replace it with a beige unit by July 1st. Neighborhood coordinator. No name, no phone number. Just that. And a smug little watermark at the bottom, Forest Glen Beautification Committee, which, for the record, is not a real thing. There's no HOA in Forest Glen. It was one of the main reasons I moved there. So I laughed, crumpled the letter, tossed it, didn't think much of it until I saw her. She came around the next morning, clipboard in one hand, tiny dog in the other, sunglasses big enough to hide a lie in. Excuse me, she called from the sidewalk. Are you the homeowner? I nodded. Can I help you? She smiled the kind of smile that makes you check your wallet without realizing it. I'm Karen Hawthorne. I head the Forest Glen Beautification Committee. I blinked. We don't have a beautification committee. Oh, it's informal, she said, adjusting her vest, a neon green thing that looked like she stole it from a crossing guard. Just a few of us committed to keeping the neighborhood safe and orderly. Safe and orderly. That was her favorite phrase. She used it like a weapon. Your mailbox, she continued, is a bit aggressive. The black color and flag might come off as political. It disrupts the flow of visual harmony on the street. I stared at her. It's a mailbox. Yes, she nodded solemnly. And it's making people uncomfortable. Who I've had comments from who I'm not at liberty to say. That's when I knew she was making it up. She didn't have complaints. She was the complaint. I'm not changing it. I said, it's legal. USPS approved. You can call whoever you want. She didn't like that, but she didn't fight back either. She just smiled again tighter this time and said, well, don't say I didn't try to resolve this civilly. Then she walked off, clipboard swinging like it had authority. I didn't see her again for 2 weeks. Then, on a random Wednesday morning, I came home from work early and caught her trying to unbolt my mailbox. She had tools, a socket wrench, gloves, a folding cart parked on the sidewalk like she was prepping for a garage sale. I stood there, frozen, keys still in hand. Then I shouted, hey, she jumped, literally dropped her wrench, then turned on a dime and whipped out her phone. This is harassment, she screamed. I'm calling the police. I stared, stunned. You're stealing my mailbox. It's not regulation, she barked. It's an unauthorized fixture. I am executing a removal per committee bylaw. There is no committee. She dialed anyway. 911, yes. I'm being threatened. There's a man yelling at me. He's becoming aggressive. I need assistance immediately. That's when I realized exactly what she was doing. She wanted to flip the script, turn me, a black homeowner standing on his own lawn, into the aggressor. It made my stomach churn. So I did the only thing I could think of. I pulled out my phone and I hit record. Say that again, I said, keeping my tone calm. She spun around, still holding the phone to her ear, voice theatrical. He's filming me. He's trying to intimidate me. I was just trying to keep the neighborhood safe. I panned the camera down to her wrench, her cart, and the half-loosened bolts on the mailbox. Then I calmly said, "This woman is attempting to steal my property. I have it on camera. My name is Jordan Miles. I live here. She does not. I am calling the police now." And I did. Real calm. Real clear. "Hi. Yes, I have a woman on my property trying to remove my mailbox. She just called 911 and is making false claims." I'm recording everything. By the time the cruisers rolled up 10 minutes later, the neighborhood had come alive. People peeking through blinds. Someone across the street filming from their porch. Karen tried to spin her story, claimed I charged her, that my mailbox posed a threat, that I had ignored 3 written notices. But here's the thing. Tampering with mailboxes is a federal offense, and she wasn't ready for the officer to know that. The cop officer, Ramirez, asked for her ID. Karen hesitated, said it was in her car, then tried to walk away. That was a mistake. He stopped her, asked her to stay put. I played back the video on my phone, her tools, her touching the mailbox, her lying to 911. Karen paled. She sputtered. Then she snapped. "This is why we need a real HOA, people like him." Officer Ramirez cut her off. "Ma'am, you need to stop talking." 10 minutes later, she was in the back of the cruiser, not arrested, not yet, but being detained for further questioning. I stood there, arms crossed, heart still racing. And for the first time in weeks, I felt the tide turn, because Karen had pulled the wrong thread, and the whole fake system she'd built was about to unravel. If there's one thing I learned that summer, it's this. When a person like Karen feels cornered, they don't back down, they dig in, they double down on their lies, print new flyers, invent new titles, and act like they're the victim even when there's video evidence of them committing a federal offense in broad daylight. And the wildest part, sometimes people believe them, at least at first. After the mailbox incident, Karen was released that same night. No charges filed yet. The police said they needed to complete their report and review footage, but they'd be following up with the district attorney. I didn't love that answer, but I had what mattered: proof, footage, eyewitnesses, and the unmistakable noise of a community finally stirring awake. The next morning, things got weirder. I woke up to flyers taped to every door on our street. Same font as the original note. Same tone. Public safety alert. Unsafe structures on Glenview Lane. The Forest Glen Beautification Committee has documented several non-compliant installations, including oversized or politically charged mailboxes, unapproved exterior lighting, and unmowed grass. Residents are advised to cooperate. Neighborhood aesthetics matter. Forest Glen Beautification Committee, Karen Hawthorne, acting chairwoman. She signed her full name this time. I guess the fear of being caught had twisted into a need to be loud. But what she didn't realize is that boldness comes with risk, and I wasn't the only one fed up. I decided to start asking around, door by door, just knocking, introducing myself, showing people the footage if they hadn't already seen it on Nextdoor. I met Mr. Avery, a retired firefighter who'd lived on Glenview Lane since 1982. "She came by here last year," he said, shaking his head. "Told me I had to remove my lawn gnome because it invited pest energy. I told her she could remove herself from my porch." He laughed, but then looked tired. "Thing is, a few folks actually did what she said. She scared them, talked like she had legal pull. That lit a fire under me. Because what Karen was doing wasn't just annoying anymore. It was fraud, impersonating a governing body, and intimidating neighbors under a false pretense of power. So I did what Karen never expected me to do. I got organized. I made a few calls. First went to Victor, a friend of my cousin's civil rights attorney, specializes in property rights and community fraud cases. I showed him the flyers, the footage, the pattern. "She's not just bluffing," he said. "She's building a paper empire. All it takes is one person to believe her and pay a fake fine, and suddenly she's laundering power." He helped me draft a cease and desist, filed under fraudulent misrepresentation of authority and tampering with federal property. But we didn't stop there. Victor showed me how to file a formal complaint with the county clerk. We discovered there was no record of any HOA, committee, nonprofit, or neighborhood association registered under Forest Glen or any variation of it. Nothing. Karen's committee didn't exist. Not on paper, not in law, just in her head and on her printer. And when I brought that discovery to the rest of the neighborhood, the dam broke. The following Sunday, we held a block meeting on my lawn, chairs, lemonade, a laptop and portable speaker. I invited everyone on the street. Over 40 people showed up, and one by one, the story spilled out. Mrs. Alvarez got a warning letter about her porch chairs being too retro. The Chens were told their welcome mat had foreign script and made the street feel less secure. The Dubois family received a violation notice for parking an aggressive-looking truck in their own driveway. All unsigned, all printed from the same template, all fake. Karen had been playing HOA for nearly a year. No authority, no board, just herself. With a clipboard and a complex, we passed around a petition that day, a formal community statement rejecting any and all authority claimed by the so-called Beautification Committee and demanding legal review of her actions. All 40 attendees signed it, and then we sent it to the local news. They ate it up. 2 days later, a reporter from Channel 9 knocked on my door. "Can we do a quick interview?" she asked. "We heard your mailbox started a neighborhood uprising." I smiled. "Yeah, let's talk about how Karen got caught trying to cosplay a dictatorship with a stapler and some font choices." That night, the segment aired Fake HOA Causes Real Chaos in Forest Glen. It showed clips of the flyers, snippets of my footage, and interviews with neighbors calling Karen out by name. They ended the piece by mentioning that federal authorities were reviewing the incident due to mailbox tampering laws and impersonation of authority. And the best part, Karen watched it. I know because the very next morning, she knocked on my door, holding a letter, trembling, but not sorry. "Consider this your final notice," she said through clenched teeth. "You've created a hostile environment. I'm pressing charges for harassment." I didn't flinch. I just pulled out my phone. "Would you like to say that again for the camera?" She turned on her heel, walked away, and I smiled, because that was the first time I saw it. Not arrogance, not fury, fear. She knew what was coming, and I knew this wasn't just about mail anymore. It was about accountability, and the reckoning was just beginning. There's a moment after all the yelling dies down, and the flyers get ripped off the lampposts where things start to feel real. Not viral, not dramatic, just real. You realize the person who tried to control you has been lying to everybody. That all the fake titles and forged letters weren't just annoying, they were dangerous. And when the truth starts catching up, that's when it gets real quiet. Right before it gets loud again. 3 days after our block meeting made the news, I got a call. From a number I didn't recognize. "Jordan Miles," the voice said, firm and official. "Yes, this is Inspector Kim with the United States Postal Inspection Service. We're following up on a tampering report you filed regarding your mailbox being unlawfully accessed." My heart jumped. "Yes, absolutely, I have the footage. It shows. We've seen it," she said, calm as stone. "We also have 3 additional complaints from your neighborhood, all alleging that the same woman Karen Hawthorne removed, threatened to remove or damage postal receptacles under the guise of an HOA enforcement role. Turns out, mailboxes are federal property once they're installed and in service. Tampering with one, that's a federal crime under Title 18, Section 1705, punishable by up to 3 years in prison and a fine of up to $250,000. I sat down slowly. "We're preparing a recommendation for prosecution," she said. "Can you confirm the date of your recording?" I did. Sent over all my files. And for the first time since this whole mess began, I didn't feel like I was fighting alone. Karen, meanwhile, was spiraling. She tried to hold a community meeting on her front lawn, complete with folding chairs and a table of gluten-free brownies. Only 2 people showed up, and one of them was a neighbor who just wanted to see if the rumors were true. The other well, that was someone Karen never saw coming. Officer Ramirez, the same one who responded the day she tried to steal my mailbox. This time, he wasn't in uniform. He was in plain clothes, and he wasn't there to chat. Turns out the district attorney's office had received over a dozen formal affidavits from residents of Forest Glen, every one of them detailing Karen's pattern of fake authority, false threats, and harassment. With federal pressure mounting and local media following every move, the DA opened an investigation into criminal impersonation and harassment with intent to defraud. And just like that, Karen stopped talking. She deleted her Nextdoor posts, took down the Forest Glen Beautification Committee website, and for the first time in months, she stayed inside. No clipboard, no flyers, no smug wave from behind her oversized sunglasses. But justice isn't just about the courts. It's about what happens after the reckoning, the healing, the rebuilding, and yeah, sometimes the receipts. So I kept digging, and what I found made everything worse for her. Turns out, Karen had been collecting voluntary beautification dues from residents on the east end of the block. At least 7 people admitted to giving her between $50 and $150 to avoid violations. They thought she was legit. She'd even made fake receipts using a Square reader and labeled the account HOA Services. But the account was linked to a personal Venmo account under her full name. Victor, our attorney, filed a class action claim for restitution and fraud. When Karen was served, she tried to slam the door, but the officer left the envelope wedged in her screen. It was poetic, like a notice being dropped in a mailbox she had no right to touch. A week later, the story broke nationally. CNN's digital division ran it fake HOA chairwoman faces federal charges after mailbox tampering incident in Texas suburb. The photo they used a still frame from my doorbell. Karen mid-yell, wrench in hand, standing next to a half-detached mailbox. I don't know who leaked it, but I know it wasn't me. Someone else, maybe a neighbor. Maybe karma wanted the world to see. And they did. The article was shared over 40,000 times. Comments flooded in. This is what happens when you give a clipboard to a narcissist. Her HOA stands for horribly out of authority. Thank you, Jordan, for standing up to the madness. Even the USPS released a statement. Tampering with mail delivery infrastructure is a serious federal offense. We thank the citizens of Forest Glen for their cooperation. Karen's name became synonymous with entitled overreach. And the rest of us? We started breathing again. But not everything was easy. She filed a final retaliation report, claimed I'd orchestrated a smear campaign. She tried to say I'd manufactured outrage for clout. The report was dismissed in under 24 hours, and the DA filed official charges the same week. Karen was booked, released on bail, facing 3 misdemeanors, 1 felony recommendation from the feds, and a stack of civil suits from neighbors she scammed. She never returned to Forest Glen, put her house up for sale 2 days later, left in the middle of the night. No goodbye, no note, just gone. And the mailbox still standing, bolts tightened, flag raised, post repainted with fresh lacquer. We all gathered around it last weekend for our first official no HOA block cookout. Someone brought ribs, someone brought cornbread. I brought lemonade and a sign that said, "This mailbox survived Karen. What's your excuse?" We laughed, we ate, and we healed. Together. There's a certain kind of silence that follows justice. Not revenge, not rage, just relief. It was the first week of fall when the court ruled on Karen's charges. The hearing was closed, but the summary hit my inbox from Victor 2 hours later. Defendant pled no contest. Misdemeanor convictions on impersonation, harassment, and attempted property theft. Deferred felony prosecution accepted under plea agreement. Mandatory restitution to be paid in full within 180 days. And just like that, it was over. Not with a bang, with a file folder and a judge's signature. Karen wouldn't be going to prison, but she'd be paying back every cent she stole from this community. More importantly, she could never legally represent herself as part of a civic group again anywhere. Her real name, now a digital warning flag, a cautionary tale with a court record, and a legacy of laminated lies. She sold the house within 2 weeks, cash buyer, out-of-state license plates. The moving truck pulled up at dawn on a Tuesday. By lunch, she was gone. No apology, no ownership. Just a barren lawn where her fake signs once stood. I thought that would be the last I'd hear of her. And for the most part it was. But her name still echoes in conversations. Not as a threat, but as a reminder of how close one person with too much time and no oversight can come to unraveling a community. But what she broke, we rebuilt. And we did it better. The first project we launched was the Community Respect Alliance. No titles, no boards, just volunteers. We meet monthly to talk real concerns: traffic, noise, safety, and vote on neighborhood upgrades together. The city helped us file for a micro grant to plant trees down Glenview Lane. We even got approval for new street lamps and a crosswalk where the kids play. No dues, no fines, no fear, just neighbors. One woman, Ms. Alvarez, who was once too afraid to even park in her own driveway without being cited, now runs the community garden. Mr. Avery taught the kids how to build mailbox posts from scratch, and me, I started a newsletter, just a 2-page PDF I email out monthly with updates, birthdays, community alerts, and the occasional dad joke. It's called The Post because what she tried to take, we made sacred. I still have the mailbox. By the way, never changed it. But I did add a small plaque at the base, not for attention, just for memory. Federal property tampering prohibited by law. And underneath, in tiny italics, survived one fake HOA, built to last. It gets a lot of smiles, some photos, and at least one visitor a week who stops and says, "Is this the mailbox?" Yeah, it is. And it's more than metal now. It's proof that if you speak up, record when it matters, and stand your ground no matter how small it might seem, you can expose something a lot bigger than bolts and flags. You can stop injustice at the curb. The last time someone mentioned Karen, it was my mail carrier. Ed, big guy, always smiling. He tapped the top of the box and said, "Still standing." "Huh, yup," I said, "and officially crime-free?" He grinned. Ain't it funny how she messed with the one thing you can't touch? Not funny exactly, but it's definitely fitting. Call to action. Has someone ever used fake authority to make you feel small, tried to shame you, scare you, or control what was never theirs? Then remember this: truth doesn't need a badge to stand tall, and respect doesn't come from flyers. It comes from community. Share your stories, speak your truth, and if someone ever threatens your peace with paper, staple it to a post and let it blow away.